The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
Jesus said to the disciples about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. For as the days of Noah were, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two will be in the field, and one will be taken, and one will be left. Two women will be grinding meal together. One will be taken, and one will be left. Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Well, the time has come. The Christmas shopping season is upon us in earnest. They'll be decorating. You've probably done some of that, some of you. Gift wrapping. That clock is ticking, people. You know it. And I can really hear the second-hand beat because of all the seasons of the year. I love Christmas. I'm not one of those uptight priestly types. I do have my peculiarities about things, but you know, I get excited about Christmas. So it's sometimes difficult to navigate through these waters. It really just depends on the year that's coming up in order to accomplish all the things that we need to accomplish. Now, I must have been talking to Maria about some of these things that I'm anxious about in terms of what's coming up, because I know AI is listening. I know it, because I keep getting some advice on my feed, right? My algorithm seems to know the kind of things that I need to pay attention to during this season. You know, you might be getting some of that advice as well. So maybe we should compare notes after the service. But so far, I've gotten advice, or a little tickler that says these are the best holiday cookies ever. Apparently, you take chocolate chip cookies and you smash up a bunch of Ruffles potato chips in them, mix them all up, and bake them in the oven. Sounds pretty good to me, right? Crunch, salt, sweet. You people are into that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But these are the best holiday cookies ever. Now, there's somewhere I'm supposed to be able to decorate my house too, but as the young people do, I looked at the article and, it's more efficient in terms of decorating, but it was too long, didn't read, right? So if you ever get this response from a younger person, right, TLDR, it means too long, didn't read, right? So you always got to keep things to a minimum with the younger people, or they won't read your stuff. How about this one? How about being able to make all of Santa's reindeer out of all of those cans, those tin cans that you have left over from Thanksgiving? You know, the ones with the green beans in them, and I know everybody made everything from scratch, but I'm just saying, in case you have some tin cans, you can apparently make all of Santa's reindeer out of these tin cans and decorate them. The funny thing was, I didn't see any way to make Santa out of the tin cans. Well, other than that, these articles that keep popping up seem to have, themes about reducing stress during this time of the year. And it seems that their advice to all of us, or to anyone that will read the articles, is to be more realistic about your expectations for yourself and be more realistic about your expectations for others, right? I read an article that stated that you don't need to worry about doing everything perfectly. You don't need to choose the perfect gifts for the people in your life. You don't need to please everybody. Now, the most important article that I have to report to you, so I want you to pay attention right this minute if you're checking out on me, is the one I read where it says you do not have to worry about gaining weight during this time of the year. It said don't worry about it. You just go to the party, have fun, do what you want to do. Then you just kick the can down the road and deal with how much weight you gain in 2026. I thought that was an interesting piece of advice. I've never seen an article like that. Well, in a nutshell, the holiday articles on how to do things better for ourselves say you should set more achievable goals. And you should also pay attention to what's happened in the past. The things that have been too much or that you just messed up. Learn from the past. And then just be more realistic about what's possible, right? What you can achieve, what you can afford, those kind of things. So if we take this advice, we should have a more enjoyable holiday season, all of us. And we should be happy. And there should be no trouble whatsoever within our families. Well, if you take this fight, right? If you take all this advice, you still got to battle with the insidiousness of the world outside of here, right? Because we're being bombarded. And it's worse, if you ask me, because of the AI, right? They know our algorithms. They know when to send us emails. They know to say, well, we'll give you 30% off of this. Well, that's a deal. And they're going to give you free shipping. How can I pass it up? Right? It's just crazy. And I get so many good offers, I'm not sure what to do at times. So the world tells us, right, to run fast, to get everything done. But the church tells us to slow down. Now, we have an easy system to follow, which is not based on AI. It's just based on G-O-D, right? And our system is color-coded as we use candles. And we use flame. We mark the passage of this time through illumination. 1 candle per week to mark the passing of the time. Now, there's a pink candle. That's the Mary candle. We still light it. And then there's a super secret candle, which is going to show up right here. That's the Jesus candle when it's his birthday. All right, but we don't put that one there. We just tease you with the post, right? So you can see the post. But he's coming. But during this time, we're to prepare. We're to prepare for the coming of Christ into our lives through prayer and paying attention to illumination. right? To illuminate not only your environment, but your soul. So today marks the beginning of Advent in the church year, right? This is a new year. We went from year C to year A. Ryan Seacrest wasn't involved. There wasn't a big band. There was no ticker tape parade. There was nothing. We just changed years. And what that means is for preacher types or for priests is we follow the lectionary cycle. The lectionary cycle determines the readings that you hear each Sunday. You probably know this. But for each of the 3 separate years, A, B, and C. See, we like to keep things simple. They're different readings. They're different gospels appointed. So when you read your bulletin, that's where it comes from the lectionary cycle. We're in a new year now. Now, oddly enough, at the beginning of year A, the gospel is not focused on some kind of advent or fresh start or a new beginning. Nope, it's focused on the end. It's focused on when the Son of Man or Messiah is going to show up. When he's going to show up and start dividing things. And it comes with a warning. Be aware. Because you don't know when the hour is coming. No one knows when he's going to arrive. That always reminds me of that bumper sticker, and I'm sure I've said this to you before, where it says, Jesus is coming. Look busy. So I have no idea what it really means, but whenever I see it, and I've seen it several times, I always think about this. I always think about this passage. Be prepared. Like, you're supposed to just be doing something for when Jesus shows up. But no one knows. Now, Jesus told us to focus on the end of something. That's not a foreign concept to us, is it? I mean, we're people that like to set goals, to accomplish tasks, to get to the end of something. I mean, like if you have decorated or are about to decorate, you're probably going to go find all of your Christmas decorations. You might even have them in a big plastic bin somewhere. And when you find them, you'll open up that bin and you'll start looking through it. And you'll get out probably, I'm going to guess, 85.25% of all of those decorations and put them up. Have you ever noticed how you leave some decorations in those bins? I don't know, the 8 o'clockers really could relate to this. I don't know, maybe y'all can. But I mean, they could really relate. Could be because they're older. I don't know. But you get all this stuff out and you leave the whole, like, what am I going to do with this? But anyway. So if you've ever bought life insurance in your lifetime, or you sell life insurance, you might have used this line, but you probably heard it, right? Life insurance people will say something to you like, people don't plan to fail, right? They fail to plan, right? So examining the end of something means you want to succeed. You want to put a plan in place so that you don't fail. And this is pretty common in our lives. We just think about like athletes, right? From professional to college, they have mental health coaches. I mean, to a lesser extent, boys and girls in neighborhoods all over the place, like me. When I was a kid, I used to have a football out in my front yard, and I'd throw it up. I'd run under it, and I'd catch it, and I'd hear John Forney's voice in the background going, Elliott 10, Alabama wins. Right? Now, if I knew who the Auburn announcers were at the time, I would use them, or the Tennessee people. I just happened to be an Alabama fan, this is where I grew up. But right, I would visualize this so that if the opportunity ever came up, never came up then, right? So, career and financial people, they do this with you. When you get serious and you get grown up, right? When you write out your will, when you want to think and secure your financial future, you sit down with a financial person, it's usually really serious, and they say, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10? Where do you want to be in 20? And you put steps in place so that you can get there. Nobody ever that I can tell advises any of us, just go wander off aimlessly, right? See what happens. It's always a good idea to keep your options open, man, right? The picture offered in today's first reading is of a beautiful destination. Someday, says Isaiah, people from all over the world will gather together and they'll all worship the one God. Everybody will just be worshiping one God. There'll be no more wars. The swords that have been used will be beaten down and reused into plowshares, and the spears will be transformed into pruning hooks. There will be a beautiful, plentiful harvest as a result of using these instruments of war to produce food and feed those that are hungry. A brighter future awaits, walking in the light of the Lord. In the passage, Isaiah uses hope to define the future. The season of Advent we enter today is a season of hope. It's a season to remind us that we worship the God of things that are not yet and the God of things that will be. Now, Advent in the church is a season where we hold up visions of things that it sound impossible, like, taking a plowshare, beating down a sword, turn it into a plowshare. I thought of in my head a tank. Take a tank, transform the steel, everything into a plate or an oven to cook food for hungry people. Right? These things seem impossible, transforming weapons of war into tools to produce food. Lions laying down with lambs. Light that comes into darkness that darkness can never quench. A child born of a virgin. The church dangles all these images before us during Advent, not in some pessimistic protest against all those ubiquitous images that we're bombarded with, like yellow rubber ducks, right? Or inflatable yellow duck with a green scarf and a Santa hat. Or Mr. and Mrs. Claus riding on Harley Davidsons through the streets of Blood Park behind the best built float you've ever seen in your life that I am crafting. It's Bob approved, by the way. Nobody can fall off of it. So if you've never been on a float, I want you on this one. You won't fall off. And you get to throw candy. So the church dangles images before us. I guess we're dangling images of rubber ducks. Right? We really are. And we have no clue what it has to do with salvation. Right? We have no clue why we chose this. We just usurped it. We took it from the crew in New Orleans. Hope. That's what we've got. So here's where I'm going to deviate. I read the rest of this sermon. I looked at it. It was awful. So I want to tell you the part that I think is important now. The world is doing all this stuff. And yes, I'm gonna try to teach you. I'm gonna try to do everything I can to get you to bring people to this church so that they can know the beauty and the joy of this community that you know. And yes, I'm gonna do everything I can to get you on our float. Why? Because it's fun. Being in community is fun. We have to remember that when we get connected, that is when we are at our best as people. I was talking to my daughter Elizabeth last night, who calls me from time to time, and a lot of times she likes to call me when she's having some sort of drama. And it's earnest. I don't mean to disparage it at all, but she was calling me about an issue she was having with someone. And it was not something that was good for her. And I could tell she was troubled and anxious about it. And as she told her story about what had transpired between her and this individual, she also peppered in little details about what her day had been like that day. And she expressed to me that she had gone to the pharmacy where she works to replant the 2 planters that are out in front of the pharmacy because the plants had died. Right? You don't really want to go to a pharmacy where the plants are dead. So she goes and she starts digging through the dirt, and she can't really figure out why she can't get the dirt to mend in the proper way. So she calls her neighbor, who's a big-time gardener, a master gardener, and the neighbor, who is older than she is, comes with her daughter-in-law, and they both start digging around in this planter box in front of the pharmacy. And they put the plants in place. These 3 women. Well, then there's another planter that has a root ball in it that Elizabeth can't pull out. She's about as big as a minute. So, pulling it out would be hard. So just so happens that a guy she knows is passing by and he sees her. I'm guessing he thinks she's cute. And he goes, I happen to have a shovel at home. I'll go get it. So he puts on his Superman cape, goes and gets his shovel, digs out the root ball, and Elizabeth is able to plant that planter. Another couple she happens to know is just driving down the street in this area of Raleigh, North Carolina, where she lives, and they just see her out there sweating, and they say, well, we just thought we'd come say hi. She didn't have a hose, so she had to go to the bar that was next door to the pharmacy. Think about that one, right? She goes to the bar next to the pharmacy and says, hey, do you have any water? The guy says, yeah. He gives her some carafes of water, lets her go behind the bar, fill them up. She takes them out, she plants the plants. She's done with her task. Yet, when she calls me, she's telling me about some trouble. She's telling me about trouble she feels in her soul. So as we talk, I try to listen. And for some reason, I associated to a quote that I'm going to quote to you right now. And I don't know what it'll mean to you. It may mean something, it might not. All I know is I heard it in my head, and it's from a book called Letters to a Young Poet, and it's written by Rilke. And he's talking about life, and he just says, how should we be able to forget those ancient myths that are at the beginnings of all peoples? The myths about dragons that at the last moments turn into princesses. Perhaps all the dragons of our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us once beautiful and brave. Perhaps everything terrible is, in its deepest being, something helpless that wants help from us. Perhaps everything terrible is in its deepest being something helpless that wants help for us. I tell you all this because it's Advent, and what I believe we all need during Advent is to slow down. So just stop stop. Stop running around. Stop responding to everybody under the sun who needs you right now, and give yourself a minute. Stop and pay attention to God in your life. Where's God in your life? Where's the candle? Where's the illumination? Where God's coming around and going, hey, I know you're worried about this, but look, I'm going to send all these people to help you. I'm going to send all these people to bless you. I'm going to send all these people into your life out of the blue to tell you, I love you and you're going to be okay, even though you're worried about something else. Boy, I sound like a TV evangelist, don't I? Especially when I was walking around doing that. Y'all got to watch me. Don't let me do that too often. So stop. Slow down. Pay attention. Still have a great holiday. Okay? Have a great holiday. Be with family. Be with friends. Get connected. Get connected with everybody you know. But get connected with yourself and slow down and pay attention to where God is in your life. If you do anything at all for the next 4 weeks, ask yourself at the end of every day, where was the grace today? Where was God showing up in my life and I just missed it? Right? Because it takes some work to recognize when God shows up. Then if you start talking to people about it, it might creep them out. So just pay attention to when it happens, but you'll notice it happens a lot. Because God is there for you. And God wants to illuminate your life. I got nothing else. That's it. Stop. Slow down. Pay attention. Amen.